Welcome in, you guys, to another episode of
What's the Trend?
You know the drill. I am one of your hosts, Casie Mason.
And I'm your other host, Aaron Weeks.
And we are so excited because sometimes we luck out and we have a special guest join us on our podcast. And indeed, that is what this episode is all about.
You know, usually we cover, pop culture of, music, movies, all of that kind of stuff. But again, like you said, we have a special guest in studio with us today.
That's right. This person is going to give us really an incredible look at the industry. This person is working in movies, film, theater, stage, even teaches, coaches, and has an incredible background and already incredible resume.
Yeah, I was about to say many credits to his name already. I think over 40 is what I saw on his
Incredible.
IMDb.
It's definitely, as soon as you see him, you guys will recognize him. Do we give the name away or do we make him wait?
No, let's go ahead and
Let's go for it. And this was your
launch it.
find, so Aaron Weeks, you introduced
His name is Kevin Roach. He's an adult actor. We've talked to child actors before on this show, but this is our very first adult actor, and he kind of gives us an insight on what it's like to be local here in the tri-state, but also working in like independent film and what his, goals are for the future. And I found it so cool.
Yeah, he's already got an impressive, like I said, successful resume. He's been working in the industry, knows it inside and out, and also kind of teases ahead to some of these upcoming projects that you guys are definitely going to want to check out. He's not only an incredible actor, just a great person as well. We enjoyed our conversation with him. So without further ado, you guys sit back and enjoy this conversation that we had with a local actor and beyond, Kevin Roach. Please enjoy. All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of
What's the Trend?
You know the drill. But today, Aaron and I are so happy because we have a very special guest in the studio joining us.
Yes, he is a tri-state native who has several film credits to his name, including his latest film, Compression, available now on digital. We welcome to the show, Kevin Roach.
Hi,
Welcome.
Kevin.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming in. We're so thrilled to have you in here and kind of talk about like the film business with you.
I enjoy watching the show, so I saw you had a young actor on not too long ago.
Yes.
That's right. We even had, I think last guest we had was a country music singer.
Yes.
So guys, we practice variety here on our show.
We're everywhere on the spectrum.
But that's really, you are right. And on the theme of what we do here, we talk movies, music, pop culture, TV. And we love to have someone that's within that industry give us, just your regular Joes, kind of a peek behind the curtain, if you will. So yeah, Kevin, this is going to be a great conversation. So buckle up, guys. Let's get started. Well, first of all, Kevin, you and Aaron, let's see, Aaron said he came across you. You want to share how you kind of discovered?
I mean, I've known you through people in kind of like the Twitter game a little bit.
Our paths
over the
across.
years. Yeah. And then I saw you were promoting one of your projects, and I was like, what a good, I have so many questions about like how, because we talked to Wake Ritter, he's a child actor,
Yes,
but kind
that's
of
who it
like
was.
your experience as an adult actor on a film set was what I was kind of trying to like see what that was all about.
Yeah. Well, in this area, it's independent film. It's a lot of low budget film that you make that you hope kind of gets that attention, or as an actor, hope that maybe somebody notices you. Like with Compression, our film that's currently streaming right now, it's starting to get more traction, people starting to see it more. That's something we filmed like 4 years ago, or started 4 years ago. So it's a little bit slower when you're making the films here, but there are a lot of films that are happening here, and there are several that I wish I had clips from because they're amazing, but they're in film festivals right now. And, you do it for the love of it, but you also do it because you hope somebody sees it, A friend of mine said, oh, so you want to be a sellout? And I'm like, well, that's the goal. Yes,
Absolutely. I feel like that would be definitely like the goal to get to bigger projects, and I think that's a great starting point here in the tri-state.
Well, and a lot of people don't realize how many films started out as small films that nobody knew about. I typically do a lot of horror thriller films, and I like to point out like whether you liked it or not, Paranormal Activity, when that came out, that was a movie made for less than, I think, $9,000, and it floated around film festivals for 5 or 6 years before somebody saw it and was like, this could be a franchise.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
And the same with the current film out right now, Obsession. That was an independent film that some comedians from YouTube just decided to make a horror movie, and it blew up and is now one of the biggest movies in America.
Yeah, it's really amazing how things things have changed. I mean, back in the day, you needed multi-million-dollar studio and production company. And now, I mean, we can even film, even with news. I mean, we don't do this often, but I was at a scene not too long ago. They said, just film cell phone video. It's just amazing where technology has changed, but so has the perspective, which is nice. So we definitely get into kind of some of the things you've seen over your career, maybe some things that have evolved. But let's go back, shall we?
Yeah.
Let's start at the beginning. I mean, Kevin, first of all, tell us kind of where you're originally from and kind of how this whole love started. Did it start at a young age? I'm sure most people it does. We all get the entertainment bug at a young age. So I guess just take it away. Tell us a little bit about, young Kevin.
Well, I wish I could have been young Kevin now because there's so many more opportunities. So many opportunities for younger actors now. Back when I was a kid, it was like you had your school plays and that was about it. And unless you lived in LA or, New York, you weren't going to get many opportunities. So I started out doing school plays, it was like Tree number 3 or Elf number 4 or whatever it is.
I was Rock number 7.
But it wasn't until, and I did theater all through high school. Like I was in practically, I think, every play except for one that they did. And I remember my senior year kind of changing my entire life plan and was like, no matter what, this is what I want to do. Even if I have to have a side career, this is what I want to do with my life. And, I was lucky enough to have parents who fostered that love, although my mom didn't take it super well when I said I wanted to be an actor because she said, you'll never make money like that. But no, they supported me through my life. And young Kevin grew up to become older Kevin and has been doing it for so many years, especially with some of the friends that I've worked with repeatedly. We get our timelines mixed up. Like we get talking about a project and we're like, that was 12 years ago. Wait, what? It's just now streaming, So
time flies when you're having
I was
fun.
about to say time definitely flies.
We actually met, we met on the set of a musical as
Yes,
well.
we did.
I was joking, I was like Rock number 7, Tree number 8. And in that particular show, I actually did get a great part.
And I was just there.
He was just there.
Happy
But we
to
had a
be
scene
in
where
the
we
production.
danced together.
Yes.
And it's here but like you just said, here we are. We won't say how many years it's been, but it's been and time does fly.
Time flies when you're having fun. I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So when did you kind of like get into film? How did you get your entrance into that and like switching from theater to film?
Well, switching from theater to film was interesting. There's a funny story. The guy that directed Compression, Jacob Belinsky, I'd done some like little projects with friends, but it was kind of mostly just we're with handy cams filming something and being goofy. And somebody called me and said, and this was back in like 2012, I think, and said, hey, somebody dropped out. This guy needs somebody to be in a film. And I have no idea what made me so bold to call him and say, why do you want me? Like, I don't know why I asked that. And I'm not sure how I worded it, but he still brings it up from time to time. He was like, I expected to interview you. You interviewed me. And he was like, well, people know you're a stage actor and I've seen your work and I'd like to see you on film. And that was kind of the beginning of it,
What's the difference between, film and theater? I've heard with theater, you're so big, gestures, and then film, it's almost like they zoom in on your face, just every little. How have you kind of handled that balance? Which one do you prefer too?
I don't have one I prefer, but it definitely, I'm focusing more on film now than I am stage work, just simply because, there's no time like the present to get your name out there. Mm-hmm. And especially in today's world, doing anything, posting videos, you're getting your name out there. And I'll come back, put a pin in that for later. But it's kind of a hard switch for actors to go to film. It's harder for film actors to go to stage because they have to learn how to be so much bigger. Whereas actors, it's easier. When I directed theater, I would always tell actors, give me more than you think I need. I can always tell you to like tone it down rather than up it. And that's kind of what you run into with theater actors going to film is a lot of like, tone it down, tone it down, tone it down. Don't move as much. Don't like I have wonderful lines in my forehead from facial expressions, and they're like, okay, no, that needs to not move, and we need to see it all in your eyes and what's behind those eyes. What are you thinking? And sometimes I've been known to ask a director, what am I doing with my hands? Because me normally on stage would be gesturing big, like are my hands just at my side? And if you've got a good director, they'll give you some pointers and tell you. And so, but I love every time I watch a film that I've done. done, I always look what I've done with my hands. Like if they're not in my lap and I'm sitting, like I've got them strategically placed. I know I put them there because
Yeah, it's like Ricky Bobby. I don't do my hands.
Yeah.
You'll get that joke if you've seen the movie. They tell us to tone it down here
Yeah,
for our
a
show. Is
little
that what they
bit.
give us? The same advice?
That kind of feedback.
Like we
that
can tone you guys down. Let's here on our show. I wanted to ask too, real quick, with kind of your day to day. I always love to hear about like. Say somebody's listening to this and they've just not really known how to kind of break into this line of work. Are you working with people locally? Do you have to travel a lot? What's your average week or day look like? Or is it kind of different? I'm sure too, every season or movie you're on.
I mean, it varies. I do have a day job. I work a normal 9 to 5. I luckily have a boss who's very understanding. But a lot of the stuff is local, but every now and then I get something somewhere else. I did a film in Madison, Indiana. I did a film all the way up in northern Indiana that it's one of those like somebody knew somebody who knew me who saw something and was like, and I'm starting to get paid gigs. It starts out usually with your friends not getting paid, and now it's like, okay, I get to spend 3 days just pretending and I get paid for it, the equivalent of or more of what I would work during that time. I did a film recently where I posted pictures where people thought I got beat up, and it was like professional prosthetic makeup. I had a prosthetic on my eye to make it look swollen, and they were shooting in an dark alleyway, but like I was way down in a building where they were doing the makeup, and I could only open one eye, so somebody had to lead me everywhere down there.
Typical day on the job.
Yeah. So, but when you're on, everybody's favorite phrase that they hate to hear is be early to sit around and wait. You get there and they're like, we're going to start at 10 and we're going to be done by 1 a.m. And it's like, okay, we're going to start at 1 a.m. and be done by 4 a.m.
That is a struggle that we know a little bit about. For
too well here in our businesses. We have a couple of parallels.
Different hours, but cut from the same cloth.
No joke.
I was going to ask you, we talked about compression a little bit. Can you tell me a little bit about your character in that? And because I've seen the trailer and it looks very interesting.
Yeah, let's hear about this new film.
And the director was very specific about not giving away too much in the trailer. I feel like I should preface a little bit of the story, which he wouldn't mind, I hope. But, it's about a woman who's a podcaster who does a true crime podcast. Her name is Hazel. And you kind of get the idea from a one-sided conversation in the beginning that her podcast became a big deal, that helped catch a criminal, at least one. But why does she do this? But you slowly start to find out she doesn't leave her house. She's an extreme agoraphobe, like never leaves her house. And even though she's written a book and, or is trying to write a book and trying to go get more attention, and she's going to take a staycation, and her friend gives her some substances to help her relax, and having never done it before, it takes too many. And her friend is like, well, whatever trauma you're facing that you're not talking about that keeps you indoors, that's your night now. And my character keeps popping up, and you put together really quickly that he was a lover of some kind from the past, but like to what extent and what happened to him.
Wow,
That's
is good. Now, are you involved? Are you working with people that wrote this, or script? Yeah, are you involved in the writing processes at all?
I'm not involved in the writing process. But I love as an actor with at least that with Jacob Belinsky. He directed that one, and he was one of the co-writers. He was the main writer, but he had a co-writer, and he lets me try things, and like every now and then on set I'll be like, can I try something?
Yeah.
Can I sneak something in? And he'll say yeah, and if he doesn't like it, he'll use the shot that where it's exactly what was written on paper. But there's like one scene in there where it's very, very sentimental and moving by the end, because I can't spoil that, but there's a point about a cat that was lost, that they lost, and we kind of revisit that story over and over again. And my character at one point is kind of talking to her about this cat, and the line is something about you have to move on, she would want you to, and it's referring to the cat. And all I did was glance down and glance back up, and he like calls me when he saw the footage, and it's like, I can't believe you did that. Now I've got to put a cat purring in there, and it's going to be even more emotional.
Oh,
he's like, but that's the take that was the best one, and it ended up making it into the film, and it was really nice.
Yeah.
So
That's okay. Now I'm in.
Yeah, yeah,
I want to
yeah.
go see it. I know
There's-
it's amazing. You work with these writers and just you're staying in your lane with playing the role. But when you're also as an actor, when you've got a good script
I
on
was
your
gonna
hands.
say when you have like, because you hear some directors are kind of just like stick to what they want, what they know. But this director that you're talking about seems like an actor's director where
Yeah.
he kind of like can let you input a few things and then kind of see where it goes from there.
Mhm.
And usually the ones that I've worked with are pretty good about, hey, can I try something here? Trust me, it's not much, but can I try a little thing? And, again, they do multiple takes. You're going to do the same scene 10 different times from 10 different angles. So it's like, yeah, sure, try it. And
Sounds really
that's what makes it exciting, is the kind of collaborative creative process, and sometimes how creative you have to get. But in that film, I actually play like 4 different versions of the same character.
wow, what a challenge.
Yeah, like slightly, 3 to 4 slightly different versions, and it's like one's a very, very obviously a dream version, one's very obviously a full flashback version, one's a kind of like darker version, and then one is kind of left up to the audience.
Sounds like our daily personalities out here. I play 4 different people every day.
As the day goes on, we turn into different people.
Yeah.
Depends on how much coffee we've had. So.
wow.
What do you want to
Yeah.
ask?
I was going to ask you kind of, especially with all of your films, what's your favorite kind of process with each film that you do, kind of
Yeah.
developing that character?
Yeah, that's a good question. I kind of, just your what's it called? Your method, if you
Yeah,
will.
yeah,
Yeah.
I typically always have a backstory, even if it's just like a minor scene that my character like just pops in and out. Like I know what they were doing. I have to know what they were doing before and what they were doing after, and why are they here? And like another film that I did it's a post-apocalyptic film that's currently making the festival circuit, and it was filmed with a lot of USI students. I played kind of a neighbor that popped by and said hello, and may or may not be there for good reasons. And the script just said that he glances back at his wife cautiously, and knowing the end, knowing that their intentions are a little bit more nefarious, I came up with this whole story where she's the idea person, I'm just the nice voice, and so I have to constantly be checking with her. And like the director and cinematographer didn't even know that until I told them afterward, and they're like, "Oh, I really like how you looked at her, like at that one moment, how you glanced at her." And I'm like, "It's because she's going to like smack me when we get home." For almost giving away, what we're up to. And he was like, "I didn't know that." And I'm like, "Yeah, like we had a whole story going on. And sometimes we talk through some of it, both of us, and sometimes it's just me, when I did stuff on stage, even though like one person might notice it, I always had one thing that I would put in there that's like just for me, just for the character. Whether or not you see it or not is moot. I like doing it.
Yeah, I appreciate is no matter what line of work you're in, it sounds like you do your homework. And
Yeah.
I think whether it's a director or the people that poured their heart and soul into writing, or your production, the crew that's standing by ready for you to give us your best take, you did your homework. You showed up prepared. That's like us today. We don't just we know you. And before we ask you the
Yeah.
questions, we already probably know the answers to, but they don't. That's so appreciative. What's some advice you'd give a young actor that's wanting to break into the business? And I know you teach, you give lessons. You
Mhm.
want to promote that as well here. But I think it's really great that here you've done this for many years and you still show up. What's some other advice you'd have for people?
My biggest advice I always tell young people, because I worked with high school students for several years, and they would always ask me, how do I get more involved in film or even theater? And my advice is always the same: just do it. Just do it, because this is not like people are always shocked when they find out I don't have a degree in this. Like I just started doing it. Like I didn't know what even film acting was until I just started doing it. And then the more you do, the more experience you will learn more through experience than you will like sitting in a classroom, in my opinion, and working with different directors and different types of directors. Some are more lenient, some are more stick exactly to the script. I think you should work with them all. And I think that's kind of the beauty of it, is you're learning as you go. And you start out as just being like guys sipping coffee in the background, and and then you make your way up and you start to get yourself noticed. And one of the nice things about I don't want to say nice. That's a horrible thing to say, but one of the good things to come out of COVID for actors, especially in the Midwest, is that once you had to be in a big city, you had to audition in front of the bigwigs in person. Now it's almost all self-tape. It's all, I took an online course from an actor who's been in a lot of Netflix stuff, and it was kind of funny because he's so young, but this is my teacher, and he's in a lot of Netflix shows, and like he's been in all the crime dramas, and he's like, I live in the middle of nowhere, Texas, he said, and I have an agent that will submit me to LA projects, and either they will pay for me to come out, or they'll say, are you willing to work as a local, which means you get out there yourself.
Yeah.
And then, you find your own lodging, and then usually the paycheck will help make up for that.
Work as a local. I like that.
Work as a local and be willing to work as a local.
Cool.
And that's something I'm in the process of doing, especially now, is like finding an agent that isn't afraid to submit me to bigger projects in bigger cities. Now that I've got a little bit more freedom that I can play with to travel. I like to travel for it.
Are there any specific types of roles that you're looking to play that you haven't before?
It's really funny you should ask that, because the whole character I played in Compression was because I said I'm tired of being typecast as villains because of my voice. I can play villains really well,
right?
And I'm not tired of it anymore. I really like playing villains.
He's a nice guy.
Yeah, I like playing villains.
Really sweet.
And honestly, that's something my teacher taught me. Is he was like, you need to lean into that a little bit more, especially as if you're going to start submitting for bigger projects. Because he said you'd be surprised at how many people don't know how to play a villain well, without the over the top,
Right.
He's like, you can do it very subtly. But Compression, I said, I want to play the love interest. Nobody ever cast me as the love interest. And so he wrote that with me in mind and was like, this is the spouse, partner, husband character that you always wanted to play. And so I get moments where I get to be really, really sweet, while I also get to be really, really dark in some scenes, but I'm in heavy makeup and you can't tell. It's all inside her head. And so he's like, think of it like, she's imagining what he would have said. Now this is that intrusive thoughts, but they are taking the form of him saying these things. Like, you do both. So
yeah, you kind of answered it with that question. I was going to ask like how you kind of pick and choose what films you want to be a part of, or you just kind of like, I'm sometimes when I was getting started, I was a yes guy. Like I was like, sure, I'll work in production, I'll run camera, anything to get in the biz.
Yes. Yeah.
But are you kind of more selective now that you're more established, would you say?
Yeah, a little bit. Now, granted, if like, an agent got me a gig in like LA, like just, fetching people coffee, I would take it because I've not worked in LA.
We're cheap.
I would take it and get my name out there because it's all about getting your name out there. And that's, one of the things I'm trying to do right now is do more social media because I'm a very private person for the most part. And, but I've had agents tell me, they're like, or casting agents say, if we see someone we like, our first instinct is go to their social media pages. And it's not how many followers do they have.
Yeah.
It's what do they sound like when they're talking naturally? Can they be compassionate? Can they be silly? Can they do darker things? And so like right now, my TikTok is millennial cringe right now, but
I love it.
Like it's a mishmash of fun things on there, fun and serious things.
Yeah.
That way they can scroll through and be like, here's something where he's talking about something very serious. Here's something where he's being very silly.
It's like the new version of a resume, honestly.
I mean, kind of, yeah.
And one casting agent that I watched in our seminar classes said, your social media is your second audition. You just don't know it.
Wow.
Wow. And we go to find out. Now, yes, there are some directors every now and then with bigger films that are like, we want somebody that's kind of really famous, and they will look for people that have a lot of followers. But they said, for the most part, we just want to see who are you and what do you sound like when you're not just saying these like 10 lines on this little sheet of paper we gave you. Because usually you don't get much to work with. And I've been sending off a lot of self-tapes that are like not even 30 seconds long for auditions because they're so short.
Yeah.
And you have to try to convey that emotion in that amount of time.
So your social media, in a way, could kind of give you a leg up if it's what they're looking for.
Oh, yeah. So I'm trying, one of those, even though as an actor, I hate it, but like, they're like, do more monologues, start doing more monologues so that they can see, like, you can do dramatic monologue, you can do a fun monologue, you have to be careful. You have to make sure you're doing something you have permission to do or you are improvising. I have a friend in England who's a playwright who's like, you could do any of my monologues, but I'm like, they're all dark.
They're also, again, the
Yeah,
villain. It's
I get
like,
it.
I'm just branching out here.
They're also very, very heavy.
I'll tell you what, the Hallmark Channel, they could always use a leading guy.
Yeah,
So we'll get you that
always.
love character spot. So
See, I would love that, and that's the thing is like as cheesy as Hallmark movies are, if Hallmark like said, "Hey, we would like to have you in a role in this," I would yes in a heartbeat.
yes,
I will
yes.
absolutely take that.
It's a package deal,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
All three of us will do
Yeah.
it.
But you have to trust your instincts, though.
Yeah.
If something feels wrong, and this is especially for young actors because I've seen young actors get their time and taken advantage of. You know, if it feels wrong or something feels strange, don't do it. And there's been roles I've turned down, you know, even locally that I'm just like, I don't feel I feel weird about this. I don't feel right about this. So I'm just not going to put my energy into it.
Yeah, definitely. Like from what I understand, especially talking to Wake 2, like a gut instinct that actors have with kind of what projects seem worth it almost.
Yeah. Like right now I'm doing a lot of vocal auditions because I have that rasp to my voice. And I work, you know, for an audiologist, so I have access to a soundproof booth, and I've been kind of taking advantage of that and playing with it. But like, there's one that I got recently that I don't know what it is, and I couldn't tell you. It just didn't. They were messaging me back, but it just doesn't feel right. Something feels wrong, and I'm gonna trust my gut instinct on that. But then I got to do a voice for a video game character that is, you know, a guy in England is putting together a video game demo, and I had to record all these different reactions because, you know, the player chooses what the character says to you, so you have to record like dozens and dozens and dozens of reactions, and it was a lot of fun.
What a variety in a career too. See, I'm sitting here. I have we theater, movies, but you have voice acting too. I mean, you commercials. Ever done any sort of commercial work or?
I've seen you in commercials. We run your commercials.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yes, that's right. Okay,
I am
kind of like all over the place.
am-
Then I used to do car commercials back in the day. So listen, but I'm retired now. But
I am perpetually the idiot that can't fix the air conditioner
Yeah.
or heater for
see,
Rays.
oh my gosh, that's
Yeah.
we were talking about that yesterday.
I've been doing those. I think it's like the third round of commercials I've done, but it was so funny because this round they said, "Okay, you've always played the upset, angry husband." They're like, "We need you
Again,
to."
the villain.
I was just
Yeah.
again the villain.
Well, they said we need you to be more silly, angry, and I'm like, "Why?" And they said because we've gotten complaints that you look too angry, and you're being portrayed as mean, and even though the commercial is silly itself, and so you know, getting mad at the kids for playing with the air conditioner. There's so many takes where I was very genuinely like, guys, and they're like, no, it has to be like, guys, come on, you know,
Yeah.
just to be goofy. And there's one shot that was a ridiculous line about like, it's so hot in here. What are we, lizards? That I shot like 20 times, you know, because they're like, let's try it many different ways, a whole bunch of different ways.
Oh, I love it. Good variety though under your resume there.
I love that. Do you have any upcoming projects? I was kind of looking through your IMDb a little bit. One that you're looking forward to the most, kind of?
Well, the apocalyptic one, Wet Bulb Temperature, I'm really excited to see how audiences receive that because it's a thriller that's really about the apocalypse, but not. Like, it doesn't even tell you what kind of an apocalypse it is. It's just some college students that are living together in a house that are like, okay, the power grid is going down. We don't have water anymore. Everybody stopped going to school. Okay, we have to fend for ourselves. Like, you don't really know what happened other than possibly the world is getting hotter, but we don't know why. It's more focused on this house and what happens in this house. And so I'm really interested to see how audiences receive that. And then, you know, now that Compression is on streaming, and now it's still on Amazon Prime, but it's on a whole bunch of other platforms. But mostly my friends know it as Tubi. They love Tubi.
Yeah.
Because you can watch it for free. It finally made it to Tubi, and more people are seeing it. And I'm excited to see how people receive it. Sometimes not so good because they go in expecting a full horror movie, and then they realize, no, it's more of a psychological drama that has heart. It just happens to have a couple horror elements. And, you know, you have to get used to reading the bad reviews, even about yourself. And that's fine. Like
we know all about that.
On a smaller level, but yes.
I have to laugh about it. You know, he laughed about one review that like just tore the film apart, but still gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. So great. Thanks on Letterboxd.
Yeah.
But, you know, wet bulb temperature making the rounds in festivals. There's a film I did called Fire Pit by Peter Matsoukas, who is the co-writer for Compression. He's lives in northern Indiana, and we shot it all up there. And I have just a very, very, very small part in it. And I almost didn't take it, and my friend was like, "Take it, because this is the part that like he was going to bring in a minor celebrity for, but wanted you to do it instead. You know, he couldn't afford a minor celebrity, but like he wanted you to do it instead."
That's a huge compliment.
That's
Yeah, I was like, "Okay, yeah, I'll do it, absolutely." And I felt bad for not wanting to do it because it was so small, but I ended up having a really great time, and it was just like maybe 2 days of shooting, most of it at night. Because especially with lower budget film, you have to shoot at night when it's night. But it was a lot of fun to do, and I was glad I did it. And now I'm kind of telling myself, say yes more. If you don't, unless you feel uncomfortable with it,
Yeah.
say yes. Like, stop. Because I have a bad habit of saying, "Oh, that'll eat up too much of my time. What if something else?" You can't live in the what ifs.
That's
And
very
so,
true. Very true. Good advice. As we have a few more minutes here with you, we'll start to wrap things up. We promised 8:00. We're already
Yeah.
5 minutes over.
Oh, gosh,
This
okay.
has been such a great conversation.
Yeah.
We always do this. Our guests are fantastic. We
And
don't
we
deserve
can't
you. Thank
stop
you.
talking.
We cannot stop talking. One of my last questions. I was going to ask who inspires you. Maybe an actor you look up to, somebody you kind of really enjoyed following their career. Maybe pattern yours after, or maybe march to your own beat. But that, and where do you kind of see, yourself? Again, it's a cliche question, but in the future, if we were to do this interview 10 years from now, what are some things you hope have really happened for you, and hope that you've learned?
I don't really.
Three questions there.
Yeah, I'll try not to get too off topic. I don't know that there's any one actor that has like really inspired me, but I remember it was the more like grounded films. The film, like when I was a teenager, it was the more grounded films, the films that didn't spoon feed you the answers. Like sometimes, who the villain was not obvious. Those were the kinds of films that really inspired me as an actor and made me want. I was like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
Like I want to do the kinds of films where people wonder who I am and why I'm that way at the end of it. And, and that's kind of along the way. That's where I picked up from different actors talking about their process, internal process. I have a friend that, went to college, studied all the major teachers and said, "Oh, you do Meisner technique." And I'm like, maybe. And they're like, "No, I've worked with you. You're textbook Meisner. You're telling me you've never studied that." And I'm like, "No, I haven't." But
You don't need to.
and in a few years, I really hope, especially now, I'm really pushing to kind of get my face out there more now that a lot more people are starting to recognize me on films in this area, in the tri-state area. Okay, cool. Let's branch out. Let's find an agent that's not afraid to submit me for things beyond Nashville, LA, New York, Atlanta, especially Atlanta. Atlanta is a booming city for film, and I've sent a lot of self-tapes to Atlanta because I don't mind driving down there, and I have friends in practically every city, and so it's like I can always find a place to crash. But I never wanted to be famous. I'll tell you, I'll end on this. I never wanted to be famous. I'm a terrible famous person because I'm so like to myself. But one of my favorite actors, he acts a lot in Mike Flanagan films. He's my favorite director. His name's Rahul Kohli. He was on iZombie, and he says he did an interview where he said, "I'm not famous. Like, I'm just that guy." He's like, "Most people don't even know my name. They just know me as that guy from that show." And he said, "I get that all the time. Aren't you that guy?" And I started kind of rolling with that. I'm like, I just want to be that guy. And it was funny that I started telling my friends that that's my goal, be that guy. That one of the commercials that I did started airing, and our clients started coming into our business and started saying, "Hey, are you that guy in that commercial?" And it was so just coincidental or serendipitous, I guess, that would happen, that I'm like, okay, we're starting.
Said, yes, I am.
Yes, I am that guy. And, I had somebody stop me in a restaurant and ask me like, "Oh, are you that guy that can't fix the air conditioner?" I'm like, "Yes, I am."
I love that.
Yeah. And it was just like, it's the strangest thing to be. That seems like what I'm known for right now. But maybe one day in the next 5 years, I'm going to be, weren't you that guy that was in that show on Netflix?
And I
love
can see
that. I
that
would love
being
to
very
see
much
that.
so being your future.
Yeah.
Well,
You've been that guy for us today.
yes, yes, thank you. Again, ending on a great note. Thank you so much for coming in today.
Yeah.
It was a joy to have you in here, and it's always nice to hear everybody's process of how they get into a certain business. We've
Oh,
gone
yeah.
through music, TV, and now movies, and I just love that you came in. Thank you so much. Is there anything you want to plug before you go? Social media, new
Kevin C.
projects?
Roach.
Yes.
Yes, I had to create an actor's email because
Mm.
so many people were forgetting the C in Kevin C. Roach in my email. But Kevin Roach, just follow me on social media because I'm always plugging the projects that are currently going. And in fact, for a while, like my TikTok was like nothing but like trailers for compression. I'm always promoting what I'm doing. I do still give acting lessons right now. I work with kids, but I would love to work with adults. Kids are a lot of fun because you get to do kind of the basics. I have a little girl right now who she's like 9 and her dad's one of my good friends. And I told her dad, like, be careful when she's a teenager. She's a really good liar. she can make up things really well.
You're an actor,
But I don't work with high schoolers anymore professionally, but I still love working with students of all ages, whether they be kids or adults, because I want to foster that same love that I found. But I want to have a mentor that maybe I didn't have.
Yes. If you're interested in lessons or you know someone that is, again, all of that, I highly encourage your Instagram page is fantastic. And the prosthetics we were talking about earlier with the eye, that's on there too.
Yeah.
But warning, it's not for the
Faint
the
of
weak, the
heart.
faint of
Yeah.
heart. Yeah, the weak stomach out there. It's truly incredible.
I had so many friends ask me, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Did you read the caption?" It's acting, it's makeup. So,
Well, Kevin, you are just an absolute delight and talent. And again, we are so grateful you gave us your time today. We know that you are booked and busy, my friend, and we were looking forward to meeting you. But when you finally meet someone in person, you're everything we'd hoped you'd be. And this has been such a cool interview, and what a great story you have.
yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add before we let you go? That guy.
That guy, no, in 5 years, I'm going to be that guy. That's what That's my goal.
I love that.
Well, Kevin, thanks for hanging out with us and being our latest guest here on What's the Trend?
What a cool interview. Again, we've never had a bad interview on this show,
No
which
way.
is so thankful and lucky for us.
It's funny, each person we've had on, they know their art inside and out.
Yes.
And they're passionate about what they do.
That's the good thing about each interview that we've done. They know exactly what kind of questions they kind of navigate and stuff like that, and I love it.
Oh, it's easy to have a conversation. We said we'll have you for about 30 minutes, Kevin. We ended up going about 45 there on that one, but rightfully so. He was a great conversation. And just, it's so cool to learn about that stuff. I mean,
Especially when I kind of went in knowing nothing really about adult acting and, how to get into independent filmmaking, which is, again, pretty cool.
and he gave really good advice for those that are maybe younger, wanting to start off, or those who are, maybe in their middle of their careers and older, and wanting to maybe go ahead and try something, because you live once and life can be pretty short sometimes. And it's always good to just go after what you're passionate about. Don't be afraid. And as he said, just say yes. If it feels right, go for it. Do the project. And eventually someday you may have a long list under your resume as well of projects you've done, just like Kevin.
Yes,
So
obviously.
of course, you got to have a little talent as well.
Just a little bit. But again, thank you so
Yes.
much to Kevin for coming in. And again, we'll probably be back to our scheduled program
regularly
as usual. But you can find us again on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. You can go to 14news.com, go under podcasts. What's the Trend will be there. And we're also available on YouTube.
And we'll be there too, guys, like it or not. We'll see you next time on our next episode of What's the Trim. In the meantime, have a great week. And Kevin Roach, again, thank you so much for being this week's special guest. See you guys.
Bye.